Hello, math students. In this video, our learning target is solving proportions by writing equations. Let's begin with a quick vocabulary startup. A ratio, we know, is a comparison of two quantities. Let's say that we had one dog, but our neighbor had two dogs. That's a comparison, and we could write our numbers with a colon in between or as a fraction 1/2. Now, a rate is also a ratio because it compares two quantities. However, it's comparing different kinds of units. Let's say that someone can ride their bike 22 miles to 2 hours. We can write that rate with a colon between the numbers. We can also write the rate as a fraction, 22 seconds. Now, a unit rate is when a rate is simplified so that one quantity is compared to one unit. So 22 seconds divided by the greatest common factor of 2 has simplified that unit rate to 11 in 1, or 11 miles per hour. A proportion, an equation stating that two ratios or rates are equivalent. So if we take our 11 miles per hour, and we know that that is equal to how many miles in 5 hours, we could solve our answer with cross multiplication. 11 times 5 is equal to 1 times x. 11 times 5 equals 55. 1 times x is 1x. So, solving that proportion, we have the answer that 55 miles can be biked in 5 hours. Now let's use our understanding of the math vocabulary to help us solve this problem. Daphne typed 84 words in 2 minutes. Assuming that she types at a constant rate, use a ratio table to find how many words she would type in 9 minutes. Write an equation relating the number of words to minutes. Let's start with the ratio table. We're going to set up a ratio table that compares words to minutes, and it's okay to abbreviate. Next, let's fill in the numbers that we do know. Daphne can type 84 words in 2 minutes. I'm going to write that ratio as a fraction, and a fraction can be divided. 84 divided by 2 equals 42. Now, this is what it looks like if we write out all the steps. We know that we can simplify a fraction by dividing by the greatest common factor. In this case, the greatest common factor is 2. 84 divided by 2 equals 42, and 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 42 words every 1 minute. Now, these numbers are really important. It's called the unit rate. Let's label it unit rate. It's a comparison to 1. Daphne can type 42 words in 1 minute. Now we can use this unit rate to figure out how many words can she type in 9 minutes. We're going to use multiplication. 1 times 9 equals 9. Remember, this is a constant rate, so it's going to stay the same. Therefore, we can multiply 42 times 9. 42 times 9. 18, 36 plus 1, 37. 378 words in 9 minutes. We can see the multiplication by the unit rate by multiplying 1 times 2 equals 2, and 42 times 2 equals 84. We can multiply by the unit rate to find answers to an extended problem. To finish this problem, we have to write an equation. To do that, we're going to use this unit rate. Now, we just learned that we can multiply in order to extend the problem and kind of find out information that is unknown. Well, I want to know how many words can Daphne type in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Now, let's remember that we multiplied by 9, and then we multiplied the unit rate 42 times 9, and that told us what we wanted to find out, that Daphne can type 378 words in 9 minutes. Let's use multiplication again to find out how many words in 3 and 4 minutes. We're going to take our unit rate, 1 minute, and we're going to multiply by 3, because 1 times 3 equals 3. We're going to multiply 42 times 3 also. 42 times 3. 126 words in 3 minutes. Now we can use the unit rate again to find out how many words Daphne can write in 4 minutes. 1 times 4 equals 4, so therefore 42 times 4, 42 times 4 equals 168. So we always multiplied by our unit rate times the number of minutes, and our answer gave us the total number of words. Now we can simplify this equation a little bit. One thing we can do is get rid of this 1. 42 divided by 1 equals 42. So we're just going to write 42. And then we can use variables. The m would work nicely for minutes, so 42m, which means 42 times m. We don't need a dot, parentheses, or an x for multiplication. The number next to the variable means multiplication. And that will equal, w will work for words. So an equation for this problem is 42 times m equals w. Let's try again. Oranges were on sale at Festival Foods. Aiden bought 12 oranges for $4. At this rate, how many oranges could he buy for $1? How many could he buy for $10? Write an equation relating number of oranges to price. We'll begin by setting up a ratio table, and we're going to compare oranges to price. Now we can fill in the numbers that we're given. We know that Aiden can buy 12 oranges for $4. If we take this 12/4 and we write it as a fraction, we can divide it. 12 divided by 4 equals 3. If we would write out all the steps, it looks like this. We're dividing by the greatest common factor, which is 4. And 12 divided by 4 equals 3. And 4 divided by 4 equals 1. This is really important information. It's called our unit rate, and it's going to stay the same or constant. It's always going to cost $1 for those 3 oranges. So now we can use the unit rate to multiply. We need to find out how many could he buy with $10. $10 is the price. We know that 1 times 10 equals 10, so therefore 3 times 10 gives us our answer. Aiden can buy 30 oranges for $10. The same thing happens when we take our unit rate and we multiply by 4. 1 times 4 equals 4. Multiply by the unit rate, 3 times 4 equals 12. What stays constant is our unit rate. Our unit rate is 3 oranges for $1, or 3 firsts. We're always multiplying by the price, and that equals the total number of oranges. So we have an equation, but we can simplify it. The first thing we can do is just simplify our unit rate, 3. Instead of price, we could use the word P. And instead of writing oranges, we could use the letter O. What's going to always stay the same is 3 times P equals O. Here's our equation. We could even test it. What if we wanted to know how many oranges can we buy if we have $15? 3 times 15 equals 45. It's your turn to try it, but first, let's read through the problem together. Yadira earns $28 for tutoring for 3 hours. Assuming the situation is proportional, how much would Yadira earn tutoring in 2 hours? Write an equation relating her earnings to the number of hours. I'd like you to pause the video and try this on your own. Set up a ratio table, find the unit rate, figure out how much she makes in 2 hours, and write an equation. When you're ready, press play and we'll go through the problem together. The first thing we want to do is set up that ratio table. And we're comparing how much money Yadira makes to the number of hours that she babysits. Next, we can fill in the numbers that we are given. $28.50 in 3 hours. To find that unit rate, we want to know how much she makes in 1 hour. We can do that by dividing. If we write our ratio as a fraction, we can divide that fraction. If we were to write all of our steps, we are dividing by the greatest common factor. And 28 divided by 30 equals 9.5, or $9.50. And 3 divided by 3 equals 1. So we have found our unit rate that she makes $9.50 every hour. We can now use that unit rate and multiply. We want to know how much she makes in 2 hours. So we're going to take our unit rate, 1 hour, we're going to multiply it by 2 because 1 times 2 equals 2. Then we're going to take our unit rate of $9.50 and multiply that by 2. 9 times 2 is 18, and 50 cents and 50 cents is $1, so that's going to give us a total of $19. $19 is what she earns in 2 hours. Now, what stays the same is our unit rate, and that's the number that we're going to use in our equation. She's always making $9.50 every hour. When we multiply that by how many hours she works, we can find out the total amount of money that she makes. We don't want our equation to stay like that, so we're going to simplify it. We can get rid of that 1 in the denominator and just write $9.50. We could use H to represent the number of hours. We can't write a $sign, but we could use the letter T for total amount earned. So our equation is $9.50 times H, hours, equals T, the total amount earned. If you use different variables, that's okay. It's your turn to try it again, but first, let's read through the problem together. At Valley Fair Amusement Park, 360 visitors rode the roller coaster in 3 hours. At this rate, how many visitors will ride the roller coaster in 7 hours? Write an equation relating visitors, use the variable v, to number of hours, use the variable h. Please pause the video and try your best to solve all of the questions in this problem, but then press play so that we can work through the problem together. The first thing that we want to do is set up a ratio table. And we're showing that we are comparing visitors to hours. Next, we can fill in the numbers that we know. 360 visitors ride that roller coaster in 3 hours. Now that information can be written as a fraction. and we can divide a fraction. We're going to divide 360 divided by 3. And 360 divided by 3 equals 120, and 3 divided by 3 equals 1. This is our unit rate, and it's a really helpful number to know. So I'm going to highlight it. 120 visitors every hour are riding this roller coaster. So now that we know that, we can multiply by our unit rate to equal how many visitors ride that roller coaster in 7 hours. Well, we know that 1 times 7 equals 7. So 120 times 7 is going to equal our answer. 120 times 7. 840 visitors ride a roller coaster in 7 hours. Now, to write your equation, you're going to use the unit rate. It's our constant. It stays the same. There's always 120 visitors multiplied by the hours, and that equals the total number of visitors. We can always test our equation just to make sure we did it right. 120 is our unit rate times 3 hours equals 360. Not a math funny, but it is a funny. Good night, honey. Good night, dear. Ha 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 ha.